Hi, and welcome to another edition of Newsmakers. I'm Jerry Roberts. It is Friday, November 11, Armistice Day, 11/11 at 11/11. World War I formally ended. And no, I was not covering it at the time. That was Nick Welsh, who will be joining us shortly. Meanwhile, we have the other member of the Tres Amigos, Josh Molina. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a holiday for most people, but I'm working on another Funk Zone story, so you can read
Other
about that.
Funk Zone Winery.
Close, not quite close.
Um, so not a lot of surprises on election night. Nationally, there was a big surprise, which was the red wave, which was the narrative that Republican operatives successfully implanted with the mainstream media. Did not appear. In fact, they're still counting votes. There is a mathematical chance that the Dems could hold on to the House, although it's very unlikely. But likely Speaker Kevin McCarthy is only going to have a handful of votes ahead of the Dems. So that'll be interesting. And the great rumor of the week that I see is that the Dems should put up Liz Cheney for Speaker and get 219 votes from the Dems and some Republicans combined. Although I don't know if any Republicans have the nerve to vote for her. But anyway, hi Nick.
Hey man, hi Josh, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Great to see you.
We were just talking
Looks
about
like you just shaved.
We were just
Oh, yeah.
talking about
And your teeth are so white. I have to say,
I get that all the time, but that's a different podcast.
Is that Invisalign you have or no? No.
Hey,
Okay.
Jerry, I
brought you
you know,
up
you
by
know
our
how I grew up.
sponsor.
You,
All right,
I,
let's
I barely just got dental insurance 3 months ago, so no,
all
it's
right,
not.
so let's try to stay focused. So Dems are very exultant, I think, about what happened. They have a very good chance of holding the Senate. And I suppose Salud Carbajal, who was easily elected, was in a good mood, Josh, at the party, the big Dem party at Timbers. What
Yeah.
was the scene like there?
Yeah, the Timbers was the place to be if you are a Democrat on election night. It was packed. There were so many activists there. There were candidates there. There were elected officials. There was a contingent of UCSB student Democrats who really got a lot of attention for their organization and helping to walk for many of the candidates. There were a bunch of students there, journalism students from Santa Barbara City College. It was a packed room, and everyone who won, it was a great night for Democrats. They all gave their speeches, and it was a really, really cool election night to be part of that energy.
Yeah. Is it true that Salud had 13 or 14 alcoholic beverages, or is that not that's a false?
You know me, Jerry. I just stick to the facts on the record. I don't engage in innuendo. So I don't know. I don't know what Salud was
Just
You're
drinking.
kidding.
not into the
Just
politics
kidding.
of character assassination.
Just kidding.
No,
JK, Salud.
definitely
Okay.
oppose that.
Let's just say if he had 13 or 14 drinks, which I'm not saying he did, he certainly would have been well within his rights, but I'm not saying he was.
I'm just asking questions. And Nick, meanwhile, you put on your cranky pants and refused to go to any parties, sat in the office and did rewrite. What is that like? They describe what you do on election night as the rewrite guy.
Let's put it this way. My keyboard took out a temporary restraining order on me. I was pounding away trying to keep up with Joe Holland's latest numbers, which in fact are quite slow. I think where we are now, how many days? This is Friday. The election was Tuesday, and we're still at 31% counted.
Yeah, no, he said he's not going to have anything till Tuesday next.
I understand that he has taken our electronic ballots and shipped them to China, where they will be counted.
All right. Yeah. How many votes are still out? Do we know?
55,000.
55,000?
55,000. So Mike Stoker, the eternal optimist, the Republican who ran against Greg Hart, who keeps saying, just wait. I think he's like 13,000 votes behind Greg Hart at this point. I don't know.
Well,
And
there's
he,
a couple things that could happen.
Measure T in Carpinteria
Right,
could
Measure
change.
T
I
is
mean, there's
what,
an 8 vote difference. So people don't believe voting counts. Look at Carpinteria. That kind of proves the case.
right,
Um,
and up in Santa Maria, the big race, Gloria Soto is losing, but not by that much. So that, I suppose that could change as well.
Apparently, that one got pretty slimy. Her opponent was just basically, using computer technology to enhance reality at her expense.
Wow. Well,
She
the
was
Dems
doing
have a lot.
deep fakes. Is that what you're saying?
But
Was she doing like deep fakes?
Deep-
Like was she her face there and it was not her talking, or what was happening?
she had some sign, that they rewrote the text of the sign.
Oh,
They're trying to make her out to be a defund the policer and supporting high crime rates.
Yeah, well, that was a priority for the Dems. That would be about their only loss for the night if that holds up. All right, let's talk about winners and losers. Not necessarily people that were on the ballot, but people who emerged either stronger or weaker. Josh, who do you like for a winner?
well, let's see here. Who is a winner? I don't know, Jerry. I think that well, I'm gonna go out there and say Ethan Bertrand was a winner on election night. And I know he wasn't even on the ballot, but that's because he had no opponent. He was elected to the Goleta School Board, ran unopposed. And Greg Hart got up there at the Timbers. And of course, Ethan works for Greg Hart in the county. And Greg Hart introduced Ethan and he said so many great things, but he ended it with Ethan Bertrand, the future president of the United States.
So is
And
he going to go?
everybody cheered. Everybody loves this guy.
Yeah.
And I think he's definitely a winner in terms of the energy around him as a future leader of the party.
Is he going to go with Greg to the
Yeah.
Senate? But he's going to stay here. He'll be like the district guy.
Yeah,
He's a district guy.
yeah.
All
So,
right.
yeah, I
you're
think
right. I mean, Ethan is a political junkie without being ambitious about it. You never you don't get the whip of like I'm going places and I'm in a big hurry. It seems like it's more about the agenda and the policy.
Well, and he's still on the IV
Right, recreation board.
recreation board. Nick, who do you like for a winner on election night?
Oh, Lord have mercy. I actually have to say the Democratic Party did extremely well, and I know everybody likes to bash the Democratic Party, and oftentimes they bring it on themselves. But I mean, on one hand, they were going up against a 98-pound weakling. There was nobody on the ballot against them. There were no genuinely contested races, but they managed to generate some enthusiasm and some spirit, and they got some new faces elected to the Goleta. You've got Zacharias and Emily Zacharias on the school board. There you've got Luz Reyes Martin on the Goleta City Council, and that's a big one. And James Carriaco got reelected, so they.
Well, maybe.
Oh, you think that's going to come?
Yeah, we haven't got to the losers yet, but I don't want to spoiler alert. The guy who spends $60,000 for 464 votes. That's pretty good. 464 votes, count them. All right. Let's see. My winner is Carolyn Abate, who lost her race, but proves again and again and again that you can be different, that you can argue your case as extreme as it is without being unpleasant. And I think she models civility at all times. And even though I could not disagree with her political views anymore. I think she's a good model of the kind of discourse that we ought to have.
You apparently should have run for Goleta City Council because she got 3 times more votes than James Carriaco. So maybe she would have had a shot there.
All right, loser.
Sorry, James.
Hey, who's your loser, Josh? Who's your biggest loser?
Well, let's see here. Biggest loser. Obviously everyone who runs, it takes an incredible amount of fortitude. And and they're all good people, so they all run. So I don't want to characterize them as a loser, but I was surprised by Dan LaBarge and the fact that he came in third in the Santa Barbara Unified School Board
Some of us were
race.
not. Some of us
Yeah.
were.
There was not much resonance there with the people who vote. So I guess I was surprised there. I think that James Carriaco was very close to Sam Ramirez. When you think about $62,000 and you think about $11,000, and he's ahead by 150 votes, that's really kind of stunning. And I guess James could say, well, it's a good thing I raised all that money, because if I didn't, I'd be behind. Right? So is all that money worth 150 votes? Yes, if you win, it absolutely is. But I would say that maybe district elections is the loser, because James Carriaco in a citywide election would clean up, right? He would get elected. He'd be the top vote getter, probably over Luce.
I think you raised a really good point. District elections, with the city of Carpinteria, it's so small that the districts there are like so tiny as to almost be non-functional, and the ones in Goleta are a little bit bigger. But you can make a good case for somewhat of a hybrid system in Goleta, where you have more at large and fewer districts, and the districts would be more meaningful statistically.
Well, and the two very capable and experienced council members in Carp had to run against each other.
Right, yeah, Greg Carty and
Al Clark.
And Al Clark seems to be, winning that one by a long ways. He was definitely the most unapologetic, old school, slow growth, no growther. There was no wishy-washy to his approach. And, he was running against the Chamber of Commerce. And, the rest of the council members, the Chamber of Commerce had a pretty good representation already on the city council, or people who are amenable to that agenda. And our Greg Carty is one of them. It's funny because actually I thought Al Clark didn't want to run. I mean, initially he was hoping for somebody else that was going to come up and say, let me do it.
And the other thing about district elections is we had a number of seats that didn't draw an opponent. Ethan's for one, his friend Jonathan Abood, friend of the program, was not opposed, reelected to the city college board. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's just so many districts now that you have to find somebody, and it's really hard. And
yeah. Well, I'm torn on my loser, but I guess I'd have to say the Stoker household, which had the only home with two people who lost elections. And Mike, who spins in his sleep, is still trying to tell his donors, hey, it's all good. The future.
I hear you on that, but on another level, I kind of think it's sweet. You look at Mike and his new wife, Debbie.
But he was he did a terrible job as her campaign manager.
Well, both campaigns were bad. Both were doomed from the start. I mean, really what you saw in Santa Barbara is, if you have a D next to your name, you got 60 votes, 60% of the votes immediately off the bat. If you're a Republican, you got 35%. And then, depending on your experience and your ability, you might be able to break the 40% ceiling.
Yeah. But I mean,
know,
Debbie Stoker, I think, had a chance. She had a very clear message. I'm for the students. I'm representing them, and yeah, she went off on masks and vaccines. But the way she got introduced was this snarling press release, picking a fight with Gwen Lurie, and putting my trip to Hawaii out in the, I mean, what? That was not the way to introduce yourself. So,
Well, Jerry, I just want to say that, and I'll be quick here because I know you need to move on, but the conservatives who insist on telling everybody they're going to win when we all know they are not going to win and they have zero chance of winning local races unless they have a good crossover mainstream candidate. I think we're tired of that. I think they run lousy campaigns, but yet they point the system, they like spin, and it's like, let's be realistic. Let's start with a good candidate. There's no reason why they can't do a better job at finding younger people and cultivating them and putting somebody on the ballot. And they need to stop worrying about what's happening nationally and worry about what's happening here.
well,
but the
yeah.
problem is,
Speaking of
like
that,
if you look at who would be one of the best Republican candidates for anything right now would be Steve Lavagno up in Santa Maria.
even though I thought he's an
He
independent.
left the party. He left the party. Who is, Brooks Firestone would have been that kind of a candidate. Dan Secord would have been that kind of a candidate. But the parties have changed since then. And the partisan divide has solidified since they were in office. And it used to be there was actually people who didn't care what party you were, and they would actually vote for you. Now it's such a team sport, and if you're not a D, sorry, dude, you're out.
Yeah.
And I think it is much harder to find a non-fringe Republican these days. I mean, Stoker is a non-fringe Republican. Whatever you want to make.
Lock her up. Lock her up.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what's weird. He did come up with that phrase, and yet he's not a fringe Republican.
All right.
That's how far out the Republicans have gotten.
To your point, Josh, there were 9 conservative candidates put up 7 or 9, from county board and Santa Barbara board and Goleta board, and then it was all they whiffed. It was 0 for 9. And what surprised me was Christy Lozano didn't do better. I expected just on name recognition alone. I don't know the district, but what'd she get, like a third of the vote or something? I thought
Yeah, like 500 votes or something. I don't know. You wonder if candidates want to win when they don't do anything other than just, put their name out there. Maybe she thought it was enough. I mean, I think it was good for her not to come out as strong as she did in the superintendent's race, with all of that negative attention surrounding her Fox News and YouTube video. But she went the entire opposite extreme and sort of went invisible, and you can't win if you don't try.
So
one of the things about that race that didn't really get much play is that she and her chief opponent,
Emily Zacharias,
live in the same apartment in the same housing complex, and one lives upstairs from the other, and the other's downstairs from the other, and it's just got to be really uncomfortable as a human existence. I think that Christie is a lightning rod candidate, and she decided not to do any thunder and lightning, and yet her mere presence, however muted, galvanized the opposition. And I think people forget that, Goleta voters are different than Santa Barbara voters and other, they have a different demographic. And what Christy Lozano was selling is just not what they're buying. And she'll have a hard time finding a place in Santa Barbara County, maybe Orchid, she would be in sync, but
yeah.
And I don't want to hear James Fankner say anything about any other candidate ever again. James Fankner needs to run himself if he wants to.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, well, he goes in the losers column for sure.
The Wizard of Oz comes out behind the door.
Yeah, and then I do want to just, in terms of rising stars, I think Lou's certainly fits the bill. Emily Zacharias, I think, is really someone who's going to be a star going forward. Maybe run for one of those supervisor seats at some point, and also Charlotte Gullip Moore on the City College Board. I thought really emerged as
You might want to throw in Gabe Escobedo's name there as well.
Gabe. Although Gabe's been around so much,
For a year now.
we can't call him a new face. All right. Anybody got anything else you want to talk about on the election? 55,000 votes. It's funny because I talked to Joe on election day because I was trying to, just get the pathway for what was going to. He told me there would be 7,000 to 10,000 votes that they were going to end up counting after election night. So,
I don't know about you. I waited to the very last second before I put my
so
ballot
that'll
in the
make
box.
turnout over 50%, I guess. But still very, very low.
So Nick Welsh, can Sam Ramirez catch James Carriaco? What do you think?
In a theoretical universe where friction and inertia and gravity don't exist, he can. But in the real universe where you and I live, no.
All right, here's the question. What's the final margin of votes between James Carriaco and Sam Ramirez? Josh?
I don't know how many votes are left to be counted, but if it's about 150 right now, I'll probably say that it's going to be about 120-ish.
Nick, what do you say?
Because I don't remember any of the numbers off the top of my head. I'm just going to
James has
13%.
All right, I say 40. The correct answer is 40.
40 vote
or
separation?
40%?
Yes, 40 vote separation between Sam Ramirez and James Carriaco. And
Well, James Carriaco ran worried the whole time. He sweat like nobody's business because he could feel the reality. Everybody thought, what are you doing this for? You're overdoing it, dude. Just chill. He left no nail unpounded. And he overpounded him. And it turns out maybe he had a reason.
yeah, maybe. Okay.
I mean,
the last thing I want to mention, Measure B in Goleta surprised me. I thought, given the economic climate, that would be a lot closer, but it was 2-1.
that was a 1 cent sales tax.
Yeah, the sales tax increase for what, Josh? Parks or infrastructure? Or is that going to be like our Measure B, where you use it to, pay motel owners to put homeless people in for 6 months? Yeah, that's what we
sidewalks, parks, streets, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Jerry, learn to say infrastructure. But here's the thing, every single.
I have trouble with my voice. I'm numb on this side.
Every single measure on the ballot, from Guadalupe to Carpinteria, where people were asked to pay money, to whether it was a bond or a sales tax or whatever, or a bed tax, they all passed.
Yeah, and I would do want to mention Proposition 28, which is going to now, going forward, take 1% of the Prop 98 money that goes to public schools, and earmark it for arts and music education, which is pretty cool. It's $1 billion this year. Of course, we're drowning in money. So that's, and that one really big.
So everywhere you go, you're going to hear the screeching of Suzuki method violin students learning how to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and we're going to all be happy about it. I guess going back to your question, the biggest loser was Lyft, and the biggest winner was Gavin Newsom.
Yeah,
and Gavin Newsom clobbered Prop 30, which was going to tax the billionaire class.
Give Lyft an electric fleet at the taxpayer's expense. And of course, the gambling things. I mean,
And the
the
gambling,
more they
both
spent, the fewer votes they got. There was
the
kind of,
thing that was most noticeable about Newsom, though, is there he is beating up on Prop 30. Where was he with the mayor of LA?
oh,
He was nowhere to be seen on the mayor of LA. And that one,
I think Caruso's been a big contributor of his, I'm
Yeah.
sure he's got a lot of
Yeah.
connection with Caruso. But Caruso's still winning by about 12 votes, but Karen Bass will come on and stomp him in the end, I believe. All right. $136 a vote at the moment is the arithmetic on the James Kiriakou campaign fund. Which is if Meg Whitman territory.
you know what? Here's what I really don't appreciate. Here you guys are making fun of a guy who is spending money on ads. And we all depend on those ads for our salaries. So
haven't you? But Elon Musk says that that advertising's dead. It's got to be subscriptions. You got to start selling subscriptions.
No, we need to. The three of us need to get Monique Limon or Slud Carbajal or somebody to get one of these ballot measures where it funds journalism.
Yeah,
Because that's happening around the country, and if people are willing to pay 1%, they should be able to pay us 1%.
Here's what we're going to
something.
do. We're going to say that 1% of all the money you raise has to go into local news outlets, or you have a certain.
yeah, but what qualifies as a local news outlet? That's
well, we do.
Jerry, Nick, and Josh.
But Jerry, I don't know about you because you're a blogger. You're just a.
What do you mean? I'm a television host. What are you talking about? I'm an online television host. I haven't blogged for a long time. All right, let's talk about something else. The former city attorney of Santa Barbara, Ariel Calan, was I don't know, pushed out. Is the
terminated is what the press release said.
Terminated, that's the word. Which Josh, the budget director, who I believe still stands accused of sexual harassment in a court of law, got a nice farewell. He resigned and so on. What happened with this? Why was Ariel treated so roughly?
I don't really have a whole lot of insider scoop here, but you're right. Bob Samario retired and he got a very nice press release. These are obviously very different situations. With Ariel, as Newstalk, as local media reported, I'm not trying to take credit. I'm just trying to attribute.
You were the one who actually wrote it. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to attribute it here. There was this altercation with him and this other attorney that was verbal and intense and may involve some hands waving in the air and people breaking them up. What I have heard, though, is that this was sort of an issue here with Ariel. And so I can't imagine, just speculating here, they would just terminate him off this one incident. I don't know. They've been so secretive. They have not been transparent. Maybe Ariel refused to retire, and so they had to take this action. Maybe Ariel's going to take some action now against the city. I reached out to Ariel. He said no comment. So there's still a lot, I think, that's going to come out involving this situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot more, but I did hear from some people, we'll just say that there were other options that were available. They were not pursued, and there were not two parties willing to go that route. I asked Ariel about that, and Ariel said that is not a line of inquiry that it would be very fruitful to pursue.
Does the council hires the city attorney, or
Yeah.
So they're going to keep the person in place who's there now, or are they going to have a national search?
Do not know.
I think Sarah Connect's going to stay or be the city attorney. I don't know. I would say that when Randy read the vote out of closed session, he did a roll call vote. So it was kind of dramatic. It was like each one, he said their names and they voted. And so it was unanimous. Or Mike Jordan was, I think, absent from the meeting. So it was 6-0.
I mean, the thing about Ariel, I think he was a very intense guy, and he believed in what he was doing with an intensity that it made you wonder, like, is this guy going to be able to sleep at night? Just because it was just so, and so, I can see, like, if you're burning hot and you have that tendency, that could be difficult at a city attorney's position.
Yeah.
He was very smart, but
Yeah. And what do we think of Sarah? Is she a capable replacement?
yeah,
Seems like it.
yeah, no, she is. She's been there. It's like she's been working a long time, and a lot of council members speak highly of her. That she's somebody they feel comfortable going to. They're going to get a competent answer. They're going to get a candid answer. They're going to get good advice that they can rely on and act on.
So all three, so the police chief, the administrative officer, and the city attorney now women. So that's good. That's good. Yeah.
And Ed St. George, by the way, remember he was talking about Paul Casey, Kathy, city attorney. They're all gone now. So I don't know. Not someone to cross, I guess. Or he's just got a crystal ball. But
or he's just lucky.
Or he's just like.
All right. Okay, and then lastly, Nick, you got this Exxon scoop, which seems kind of like a big deal, but a little bit of Colonel Mustard with the candlestick in the conservatory. Can you clarify what's happening with Exxon and Santa Barbara?
Exxon is the world's it's not the world's biggest oil company, but it may as well be. And it's been operating in Santa Barbara County since the 1960s. It has the 3 offshore oil platforms. It has an onshore facility. They're the 8,000-pound gorilla of the oil scene in Santa Barbara. And they've been shut down since 2015 when there was a big pipeline spill. They just sold their entire Santa Ynez unit. Boom, out the door. We're not here anymore. But who did they sell it to? And what were the terms of the agreement? So they basically loaned the money for the purchase to the entity that purchased it. 97% of the money for the purchase came from Exxon. They allegedly took a $2 billion with a B dollar bath in order to make this deal happen. They sold out
because they wanted to get out so badly.
This is the last Exxon outpost in California. They don't like doing business in California. They don't like doing business in Santa Barbara County. But it's a little bit like I'm keeping my finger on the checkerboard piece. So Exxon the deal is this new entity, they say, we're giving you 2 years to figure out how to get oil in the pipeline again. And the people who
is the new entity? Or is it
they have some
Texas oil men you just can't trust, or what?
These are the chief player is a guy named James Flores. And James Flores was with PXP and back in the day from 2001 to 2013. And he is a smart, creative deal maker. He is not your traditional, broomstick up the butt oil person. This is a guy who's going to go out there and break bread with the enviros and try to make a deal that they can.
Well, he did, and PXP did try to do that.
He was very inventive. They almost pulled it off.
Yeah.
It blew up in everybody's face, and we're still paying the price for the fallout. But
yes,
so he has 2 years to make this work, and if he doesn't make it work by 2026, I guess it's more than 2 years, all the property reverts back to Exxon. So again, they still have their finger on the checkerboard piece, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
All right, we're running a little long. Josh, who you got on the podcast?
Well, Jerry, I'm still in intense negotiations with my next guest, so I don't have an answer for that.
Dale Francisco, I haven't had a chance to listen to that. What was Dale saying?
I always like talking to Dale just because he's pretty classy and smart and he's got all this historical knowledge. He was just basically saying that conservatives don't have a chance because they're outnumbered registration wise. And, it was interesting. He talks a little bit about the friction in the party as it relates to the congressional race, which is Brad Allen was not the original choice to challenge Salud Carbajal. It was Michelle Westlander Quaid.
Yeah,
And then
that's right.
there was some party stuff going on, possibly with the leader of the party, who somehow found Brad Allen, who I'm told does not live in the district.
That
I know
Brad?
his paperwork says Los Angeles. And so that seemed to be what it was. I mean, he raised like $6,000 compared to Andy Caldwell. I mean, Andy Caldwell looks like the most formidable threat to anyone, any Democrat, after looking at this race. So that was interesting, just sort of the party politics there of the conservatives.
Yeah, all right. Nick, what, and the election's over, what are you gonna do now to earn your daily bread?
I can't tell you that right now. That's a state secret.
All right, Josh Molina, Nick Welsh, thank you both very much for a far afield post-mortem on the election, and each of your scoops. Take care, and we will see you next time on Newsmakers.